and the people behind them. And today we have a very special guest, Interlay, who work with BTC on Polkadot and the compatibility and vaults and all that kind of stuff. So we're looking forward to hearing a little bit about first how Interlay came to be, and then a little bit about the project.
Were we bringing on Greg? You mentioned?
Yeah, Greg. I don't know if you see a speaker invite.
Yeah, I sent an invites. Greg, are you on mobile or on desktop? Because it only works on mobile. Not sure.
I'll hit the Discord. Hold on 1 second.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess we'll be waiting a little bit longer, guys. Appreciate your time, patience. I was actually going to, probably the next AMA. I was going to introduce music to our AMAs for the beginning with elevator music, but I'll add that for the next one.
We had a Twitter space yesterday, and the first thing I said was like, "Should we have music?" Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, Greg's on desktop.
Oh, desktop, yeah. Feel free. Yes.
Because like sometimes people put music on, and it's like a vibe, but it's also the audio isn't good enough, so it kind of sounds like you're listening to like the outside of a club or something, you know?
Oh yeah, let's let me show you guys real quick, just before we start. Let's see if I can do this. So I've been testing it out, and also based on majority votes, it seems like music is something people want. So let's see if I can do this here. I will be trying to play.
Greg's here.
Hello?
So I'm just gonna. Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Hey, great. Sorry about that, the technical difficulties. I was on my desktop and I switched to mobile, so hopefully this will hold together in one piece.
For sure. Yeah, appreciate you joining in with the other option. Mobile's the only way, unfortunately. But okay. Well, I guess my NFT radio didn't work. Anyways, so let's Megan, you want to go ahead from the top?
Sure, yeah. So welcome, Greg. Nice you could make it on the show. I wonder if you can just tell us a little bit about the Interlay project, like how it came to be, and before going into what the project is all about with a kind of high level overview.
Yeah, sure thing. So it's been a while now. I've been with the company probably since very early days, probably if not day one. We started initially through the Web3 Foundation. They were offering grants to projects to start working on very early on, sort of the prototype parachains, and we submitted, or at least rather, Dom and Alexi, the CEO and CTO of Interlay, submitted a proposal for a Bitcoin bridge using their research that they published through academia, and that was like a model called what was again, Xclaim, sorry, that's it. And so Xclaim sort of a trustless model for mapping how one asset can be wrapped on another chain, where one of the chains doesn't support smart contract functionality. So the perfect use case for this is Bitcoin and some sort of smart contract chain such as Ethereum or Polkadot. So one of the I think early prototypes actually was built in Solidity. But there was obviously a lot of reasons why we didn't want to stay working with Solidity, and sort of when we submitted the Web3 Foundation grant, we were able to then kind of move on to more like level one stuff, which enabled us greater flexibility and sort of the tooling for the system. So yeah, this was probably, I think, like 3 years ago. I could be wrong. This is probably maybe a year after Xclaim was published. The prototype was developed through the Web3 Foundation grant, and we delivered the first incarnation of the BTC parachain. And as I mentioned, I think I was the first developer actually, along with Darwin Alexi, on the Rust BTC parachain implementation. And we pushed that through Web3 Foundation. The original plan actually was for us to bring it as a common good chain, but I believe there was some discrepancies in terms of how we saw the incentives working for the bridge, and we actually introduced governance tokens, which led us to also move on to sort of like running our own fully fledged parachain through crowd loans. And thus sort of Kintsugi and Interlay were born. So Kintsugi is the canary net, and Interlay is based on the company name, it's the Polkadot variant, the main net, so to speak. So we delivered on our promise of bringing like kind of Bitcoin or trustless Bitcoin through this protocol into the realm of and Polkadot, and here we are a few years later. I think it's worth mentioning, actually, Interlay, we've been live on Polkadot for a number of months now, but it was only really within the last few weeks or months that we were able to fully realize the capability of the network. Kintsugi's been running probably for a lot longer, and we were able to run and mint KBTC, the wrapped asset there for some time, but as I said, only recently we were able to bring IBTC into fruition through kind of through the protocol. And if I may, I'll just touch briefly on sort of the high level of how the protocol works. So into BTC, the protocol, again, based on Xclaim, the original specification by Darwin Alexi, is a sort of trustless model for wrapping an asset on another chain. So in this case, it's Bitcoin on Polkadot or Kusama. The way it does this is it's fundamentally or conceptually a lot similar to MakerDAO and sort of how they work with over-collateralization and vaults. Except in our case, vaults sort of manage the custody of assets between two networks, and Bitcoin and Polkadot, or Bitcoin and Kusama. So how a vault looks like on, so let's take the Polkadot Interlay chain, for instance. The vault would register on our chain as a sovereign account. It would then lock up collateral. So at this point in time, I think Interlay only supports dot collateral, but we have implemented a multi-collateral system, so that is being expanded into sort of the realm of stable coins and liquid and staking derivatives, which means that you can over-collateralize your position in a multitude of currencies. With this over-collateralization, we then have sort of the authorization within the protocol to mint a Bitcoin-backed asset. And how do we do that? So we use something called an SPV light client, or this is a on-chain based light client, which we can use to verify transactions and or state transitions of Bitcoin. So we can pass block headers to that relay, and then we can authenticate incoming transactions based on whether they're included in a block using Merkle proofs. And what this means is then we can verify when payments are made on the Bitcoin side in correspondence with our protocol on the parachain on the Interlay. And we can see that when someone locks up collateral in a vault, someone can then claim that collateral in order to mint the wrapped asset. And then we require that that user then proves that they sent that Bitcoin on the Bitcoin side. And once we see that proof and verify that on the parachain, we can then mint the wrapped asset, which gives us a fully fungible representation of sort of wrapped Bitcoin on Polkadot. Once it's there, obviously we then can use that across parachains using XEM. And we also have some nice kind of baked in incentives into the protocol that allow users to always redeem their wrapped asset for Bitcoin one-to-one, or be reimbursed at a beneficial rate. So if there are failures in the protocol, there's like rewards to the user in order to make sure that they're always sufficiently compensated, or they get their Bitcoin back So that's sort of high level how the system looks, and we're pretty excited. Like with the current state of things, we've got quite a few more like things in the pipeline that will be coming, making their way soon to Kintsugi and indeed then the Interlay Polkadot network. But it's great to speak with you guys and share more about what we've been doing recently and kind of yeah. Thanks for having me.
That's exciting. Oh, Megan, you want to add to it?
That was a very thorough explanation of the technology. Thank you so much for that. I just had a couple of questions, but if you want to go ahead, Dustin, I can also ask towards the end.
Oh no, go ahead.
Um, so yeah. Well, one of the questions you usually ask Dustin is, of course, what have been the challenges along the way to getting this technology deployed, and particularly with Bitcoin, of course, because it's known for not having kind of extensive scripting capability. So just wondering how you wound up addressing that. You mentioned an SPP light client and a header relay system. So yeah, just were there any like kind of hiccups along the way to getting that deployed? Like, were there any Bitcoin improvement proposals that were necessary in order to facilitate that?
Yeah, great question. There's been quite a few kind of, I would say, hiccups and bugs along the way, and things that have sort of delayed sort of our road to market. I'm just to think what the notable ones are. So I guess what kind of brings me back is I saw an interesting talk at ETH Denver on sort of the cross-chain hacks that have been happening recently, right? And one of the main problems they noticed was a lot of the problems were in the relaying or the reaction to on-chain events across networks. So perhaps like sending payments too early, or sending payments when the corresponding action on the second chain hasn't been verified. And this is indeed something we noticed quite through like bugs on our test nets. So for instance, the Vault off-chain client was always listens to events, and whenever it would see an incoming request for something like a redeem, so basically a user would come to Kintsugi or Interlay or the testnets rather and say, "Hey, I want my Bitcoin back," and the Vault would be watching the chain and say, "Okay, I can see that." I now have to send that Bitcoin in order to complete the protocol. And we've seen a few bugs related to that, specifically where the Vault has kind of reacted not according or strictly according to the protocol. So in one case, we saw the Vault client was misinterpreting finalized blocks, so it actually reacted to non-finalized blocks, blocks that were subsequently forked on the parachain side, and that meant that we sent Bitcoin without a corresponding I guess prerequisite event on the parachain. And when the subsequent the forked blocks are finalized, then that would basically correspond to what we referred to as a theft. So we could prove that the Vault had stolen BTC despite the fact that there was a formal request to send BTC before that request was forked away. So we've seen plenty of things like that, and a few issues in the Vault client because of that. And I'd say those are solely the fundamental problems or challenges we faced during this. More recently, we actually even we opened a bug bounty program on Immunify for things we may have missed, and for hackers or white hat hackers to kind of get more involved in the process and find more interesting bugs with our code. And we found one immediately, actually, after posting that bug bounty. We got a really nice find from Immunify, which was regarding the relay in the light client. We actually found that we were passing transactions incorrectly, or rather, the theft reports of the fraud proof system was actually able to be easily circumvented, so you could liquidate the assets of any vault in the system. So that was quite a high priority issue for us, specifically because we only we found this actually after Kintsugi went live, so we had to act quite quickly, and through governance, we were able to quickly fast track an emergency referenda to fix that code that was the issue. So that was really interesting, and I'm sure probably we've got many more challenges to face over the coming months and years, especially as we see sort of continual attacks and issues on some of these networks.
Yeah, that's interesting because you're mentioning about the bugs. I do kind of want to, at least, if there's an elephant in the room per se. At least my question is like with the AUSD minting bug. I know it wasn't on your guys' end, but like, what's your guys' like overview on what happened and some of like key takeaways we can learn from moving forward?
Yeah, it's interesting. So we did actually quite a lot of analysis after the attack happened to verify if IBTC was actually sent onto our chain and redeemed for Bitcoin. And I believe the determination was that there was, but that ultimately that wasn't a failure of our protocol. Our parachain acted exactly as it should have in accordance with the rules set forth. However, I guess that does bring into the real relevance here is, I guess, bringing into question the trust between parachains, because ultimately there is a high level of trust between what we expect of other parachains and what they expect of us, in that we obviously trust Akala quite completely once we transfer assets and expect those not to be misused in any way. I don't really have any other like sort of comments on sort of Akala's handling or etc. of the situation. I think they've done fairly, but it was fairly worrisome initially. But I believe sort of the progress they've made in rectifying the erroneous mints is quite good, I believe.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, it was very swiftly handled, and everybody took all the necessary precautions, and it was very professional about it. So yeah, I didn't feel too much negativity on that aspect, but yeah, it was just an unfortunate situation, but like it's very interesting how everybody was able to collaborate really fast on it, and I really liked how everyone handled it. So it's good that of course, with like clients, this technology is very useful when it comes to complete decentralization, and this kind of goes within the next question I have with you guys is like, what sets you apart from other projects in the ecosystem that are similar, that want to bring BTC to, obviously, there's like Omni BTC, but like what puts you guys in a different category per se?
Yeah, I guess this is probably putting more my marketing hat on, I guess. But the tagline we often go is that we're like the only trustless kind of version of wrapped Bitcoin, and the protocol backing that is the least or the most trust minimized way possible of wrapping an like a dumb asset, so to speak. So an asset from a chain without smart contracts. So if we look at things like, I guess, WBTC is the obvious competitor we have on Ethereum. That's completely centralized. Then there's other protocols like TBTC on Ethereum, which are also quite trustless but have some trade-offs. So the big thing we often like to kind of say with our system is that anyone can become a vault, and that you can become a vault to mint your own IBTC or KBTC. So you have no dependency, so no trust in that regard on other entities to hold your Bitcoin in order to receive your wrapped asset. So I think that's probably the thing that sets us apart the most. Yeah.
Yeah, I do agree. Yeah, that definitely sets you guys significantly apart, and that's how Darwinia feels with existing bridges, and they're not utilizing like clients. And this technology is it's endorsed by Gavin Wood mentioning like clients. So I'm glad that you guys are taking that decentralized and security approach is very important. This is something that's been reinvented in our ecosystem. Is we're producing these easy to use bridges, but they lack the security, and that's the biggest aspect. And I love that you guys have that vision. So how can some other projects benefit from Interlay, and what are some of the use cases that might be impactful moving forward?
I'm just trying to think. So I guess the biggest, obviously, advantage of integrating with Interlay is bringing sort of liquidity of Bitcoin uh, onto their chain. We have a lot of other ongoing initiatives in order to increase the utilization of the wrapped assets across chain and incentives via those. We're also looking into also ways to integrate other assets or to improve sort of I guess, the economics of the system, integrating other assets such as LKSM and LDOT and other kind of liquid or staking derivatives, and just trying to find more ways to kind of bring utility onto our chain. Yeah, there's probably like there's probably more I'm missing off the top of my head, but um, and I'll get told off from BD later, being like, you should have mentioned all these things. But yeah.
No, that's fantastic. Yeah, you guys have a really great initiative, bringing in decentralized Bitcoin into the Polkadot ecosystem, and being that your alignment with building into the Polkadot ecosystem. How do you guys feel about the future of multi-chain, and what are some of the changes that should be done?
I mean, yeah, I believe there's definitely some challenges going forward. So recently there was the Parachain Summit in Cambridge, which Dom, the CTO, attended. And there was definitely sort of some back and forth between parity there in terms of the multi-chain vision specifically for Polkadot. I think there was sort of I think one of the challenges obviously is economics, or rather uh, cost kind of balance, because ultimately in order to expand sort of the multi-chain vision there needs to be some sort of trade-off, because what Parity were identifying was a lot of parachains. It's cheaper obviously to do a lot more operations on a single parachain than outsource. Whereas the original vision, obviously, for kind of parachains on Polkadot is that they're very specialized, and they kind of communicate between each other and kind of outsource that work there. And that obviously brings me back to sort of the trust argument we kind of touched on before with the Accelerants, and in that yes, that's also great, but then there's like trust between these parachains. You have to trust that they're all operating within good reason. So there's definitely some kind of issues there to see through, and maybe how to simplify or make sure that we do see through that multi-chain vision instead of sort of becoming again siloed. Um, the other thing kind of we're looking to do, I think in the short to midterm, is look into IBC integration. And that will enable us to then start speaking to a multitude of other chains that are compatible with IBC. We're following closely the work that Octopus Network and or formerly CDOT is doing on that in that space, and we hope to integrate that toolkit and expand that side of the multi-chain. But it's pretty exciting to see whenever we establish a new channel with another parachain. It's always super exciting to see those assets kind of move across for the first time. But one of the other big challenges I'd like to note there is sort of the UX, or the front end experience, because currently with XCM, for instance, it's very limited what people can do or what tools they can use to do what is possible. And that's as with everything, I think, in the space, like, wallets, very few support multi-chain. There's a lot of things there we can work on to improve sort of the prospect of kind of bringing this to the general public.
Yeah, I agree. The UI and UX experience is going to be a really game changer for anyone that's if they were say they're coming from the Web 2 to Web 3, they might not have that same experience, at least where we're at right now. I mean, some wallets are getting better about it, but it's definitely going to take a long time to really integrate everything into one seamless application. If it's a wallet or if it's just a website or a DApp that's in interaction with the blockchain is it takes a little bit of advanced knowledge in this space. So yeah, I do agree. There's some hurdles there for sure. But yeah, teams are doing a pretty good job, I would say, at least in the wallet section, like Talisman per se, or Subwallet, or Nova Wallet for mobile. So yeah, that's good to hear. But yeah, so is there any exciting features you can talk about that are coming out? You mentioned IBTC just came out, so maybe something we can look forward to.
Well, I need to be careful I don't reel too much, of course. But I think we've definitely got a lot of exciting works in progress at the moment. Foremost, I think we're looking at sort of integrations with other chains and other technologies. So we're looking at how to best integrate more AMMs onto our chain, new parachain partners and integrators there. IBC, as I mentioned, is hopefully something in the short to mid-term that we do integrate, depending on what the status of that kind of pilot set is. What else? Trying to think more high level. So one of the big problems I think we found with Kintsugi and sort of I think it wasn't as much of an issue on Interlay, I think, because most of the people that run vaults on Kintsugi also run vaults on Interlay, so they were kind of used to the setup. But we do have quite a high technical barrier to entry in terms of operating these vaults or the vault clients. Compared to something like MakerDAO or indeed one of these like pools on Akala, where you can just kind of drop liquidity and forget about it and just slowly earn. With the Vault system, you do need a bit more of a kind of comprehensive setup, a bit akin to running a validator, I guess, on most networks. So one of the big things we're looking into there is how do we reduce that complexity or that onboarding experience? And there's a few threads here. So the first one, which I was looking into quite recently, is the prospect of operating Vault-like client software. So this is more lightweight software that doesn't require sort of some of the heavy hardware that we currently require, mainly because the Vault needs to speak to a full node, a Bitcoin full node, and that's quite a heavy requirement for a lot of people. So we're looking into ways to kind of simplify that and outsource some of the computations. On the other side, we're looking into ways we can adjust perhaps the inter-BTC protocol in order to limit some of the requirements there, or at least maybe bring additional ways to position vaults as not only custodians but sort of other ways. But I won't reveal too much just yet because this is sort of active research and ways to minify, I suppose, the protocol. And those are the guidance really.
Yeah, did we lose you or?
No, sorry. I thought you were gonna say something.
Oh, okay. Oh no, I was just gonna just add to that, I guess. Just to say, stay tuned, everybody. There's a lot of information. There's a lot of some alpha coming out soon, I'm sure. So definitely stay tuned with the Interlay. So yeah, I guess I wanted to touch on maybe if there's any interesting partners you guys can mention. Of course, I'm sure there's a lot of things behind the scenes, but something on the high level you can mention or something we can look forward to.
I think probably you're speaking to the wrong person. People tell me to write some code, and I often just go away and do that. But in terms of partnerships, I think there are some probably interesting ones. I'm trying to think. Obviously, I think the big one at the moment is we're trying to bring staking derivatives and stable coins into onto IBTC and KBTC. That was sort of stagnated after the AUSD incident, but that's sort of the big kind of thing we're looking into just now. Otherwise, yeah, there's. I mean, I wouldn't say there's anything particular I should mention. Like we're actively kind of speaking to the community, and indeed, if anyone's from the community, like so, our side is listening here and interested in sort of incentives and opening pools between other chains. I think we have a few pools open now on Moonbeam, for instance. If there are thoughts, we have this like discussion post up on Subsquare, asking sort of where should we go next, or what else should we do? So yeah, please get involved if you have any interesting thoughts.
Hey, I just wanted to jump in real quick and let everyone know that we literally just a few hours ago opened voting for it's a poll for IBTC pools on Curve and BeamSwap, and you can vote on which token pair you would like to pool with. It's open till September 1st, which I believe is next Thursday. And there's 3 different pair options, as well as the 4th option where you can suggest something else if you have a different idea of what you think would be a good pairing. So that's definitely something that we have coming up, as well as other XTM channels that we're opening that are in the process of governance right now. So we don't want to say too much.
Fantastic. Yeah, I just added it to the top so you guys can check it out and put your votes in.
Yeah, that was so.
Go ahead.
No, sorry, I was just saying, please get involved. It would be awesome to see some more community input. And we have like a few other discussion posts as well. So if you do want to help shape more of the future vision of Kintsugi and Interlay, we'd really appreciate more input there.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's always good to have the community's vote and thoughts in, because it really helps, bring stability and scalability for sure. So yeah, that's okay. You can't really mention a ton of partners, of course. It's always a trick question to see if we get some alpha in there. But anyways, so what is the Interlay roadmap? You mentioned there's some things going down the pipeline, but if there's like any like of course things change often, so you can't really say for sure. But maybe there's something grand in the big. You guys mentioned the pools and whatnot, like kind of like something in the future per se, maybe next year or something, or 6 months, or
Yeah, I think just expanding integrations, onboard developers and anyone interested working with the technology. There's a few things I mentioned before that are probably more short to midterm things, like the Vault Light client at IBTC. Mid to long is probably some like protocol reformulation, or at least addendums, I guess would be way to put it. Yeah, and then I think super long term. I mean, we've got more than enough on our plate for now, of course, but I think the plan was always to look into if it was even possible to support additional wrapped assets. So currently, obviously, Bitcoin is the only wrapped asset on our chain, but we do have the technology and the capability to support like additional wrapped assets. So an example might be Bitcoin Cash, right, instead of Bitcoin, because it is ultimately a fork. So we should mostly be able to kind of ad hoc add the sort of verification on top of our chain and start integrating additional backed assets like that. But that's definitely a long way down the road. We've got more than enough on our plate at the moment. But yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
Hey, I'm Liv, by the way. I'm Liv, the social media manager at Interlay. But we just published our most recent ecosystem update. It's on our Medium, but it's not on Twitter yet. But I will say something that we are thirsting for is more vault operators. So we definitely need more vault operators to expand the network because the response has been so strong to mint IBTC, but we just don't have. We need more vault operators to be able to mint more. So that's a big thing. So if you are interested in that, definitely slide into our DMs. And we do have governance in terms of opening channels with other parachains. We have governance on our end with Parallel and A Star. That's, people are voting on that on our end. But of course, after that, it will go to their teams to vote on. So those are potential integrations. But the playbook for each new integration, interpool, IBTC pool, sourcing IBTC liquidity, and then after that, leading to more lending, borrowing, and sophisticated integrations.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, because I was thinking like that's kind of like a good segue to get into like these Bitcoin maximalist, type groups where you can be like, hey, Interlake can actually make your BTC a lot more, fluid and versatile, and that's great because that's that's a
Yeah. If you
it's
want to talk to me about that, I have tons to say about that. Like, I feel like there definitely needs to be a refresh, and I feel like there's a huge community that's untapped right now of people who use Bitcoin and don't do anything with it. And there's another much smaller but louder community of Bitcoin users who are, very set on only ever using Bitcoin for Bitcoin's sake and holding it. But I think that there's a large group of people out there who are looking for a solution to use Bitcoin without it really ever leaving their wallet or leaving the safety of a vault. So that's sort of the bigger picture. And we have been doing a series of Twitter Spaces and more stuff coming up. I can't say too much, but we want to integrate more with the Bitcoin community and sort of rephrase that narrative of Bitcoin's incredible and it's one of the most amazing technological advancements of human history, in my humble opinion. But how can we grow on that? How can we bring that to the rest of the innovation that's happening elsewhere? So that's sort of our bigger picture vibe. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel it. Definitely bringing Bitcoin into the future and making it less siloed. Because with just the current state of the Bitcoin network, it's very limited, and if they tend to be holding it forever, they might as well utilize it in a way that Interlake can bring them more value. So yeah, definitely outside of custodial base, like Celsius and whatnot, we've seen some of the negative aspects of having a custodial based project hold your Bitcoin, and it didn't end well. So this will bring a lot more value to those who hold Bitcoin and hold true value to themselves with Bitcoin. They can do something more than just holding it. So, yeah, I love that. And also add to Greg, yeah, that's exciting. Of course, it's a long vision with bringing other wrapped assets into the space. And I can think of a handful of projects that can be utilized, being that they were originally built with the SHA-256, Bitcoin essentially, that are not Bitcoin based projects, but they, originally pulled the code from Bitcoin and created a fork for themselves and created their own project. So be interested to see, such as like Litecoin and whatnot, into the future and bringing them to the Polkadot ecosystem. So I'm excited for that. So, Megan, you want to add anything, or Greg? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of opportunity to expand in a lot of different areas, and we're definitely going to hopefully bring a lot of value to those people that want to just hold Bitcoin, but then or make money on it. And we're definitely looking into ways to sort of simplify that even more. Like, I think one of the original visions, or I don't know if it's still the main vision of Interlay is even to sort of maybe even find a way to sort of bring Bitcoin into other ecosystems without kind of sort of leaving the Bitcoin network in the same way. So like right now, ultimately you do need to send your Bitcoin to a vault in order to like mint a wrapped asset, and that vault could be your own under your own control, right? But I think one of the visions we had early on, I think still holds true to this day, is sort of hodl in your own wallet without ever leaving, without even sending a transaction even. And we do have some very, I think there was some research we published actually in sort of ways we can do this and minimize perhaps even the collateral requirement on the paraching side. But even that is definitely something we'd really like to explore more, and sort of open even community input on what other ways to utilize Bitcoin.
Wow, it's really exciting solutions you're working on to this challenge of getting Bitcoin into Polkadot and other ecosystems in a trustless and decentralized way. And it's really, really cool to hear about these vaults where, technically inclined users are able to just spin them up and then kind of custody their own Bitcoin. It's a really refreshing concept compared to other fully custodial solutions. So I think you've really touched on and said a lot of the magic words in the bridging space, especially when it comes to recent issues surrounding hacks and the inherent issues with many of the custodial systems. So yeah, really, really great to hear that you're making it decentralized and putting the power back in the users' hands with this one. So, Dustin, if you don't have any more questions or comments, perhaps we can open up for some questions.
Sure. Yeah, let's open up for the community.
Alrighty. Let me see who was first here. I believe it was Young Stallion.
Yeah, that was the first one. Yep. Or Savior is Young Savior.
Young Savior. Young Savior. Sorry. All right. Would you like to go ahead, Young Savior?
Yeah, good evening. How are you?
Hey, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. Yeah, concerning your this your project that you have now. We've seen being on product. So what really inspire you to come and have to come on Polkadot?
I think we're losing you there.
Yeah, could you repeat the question,
Hello?
please?
Hello, yeah, what I really say is that what inspire you to come into Polkadot ecosystem?
Oh, that's a very philosophical question. I think, well, it's actually no, I think this is a very good question, actually. I think one of the things that drew me as a developer was probably Rust. And it's a language before I joined Interlay. It was a language I always wanted to familiarize and learn about. And I was hugely invested in sort of the crypto space. And yeah, Parity, Web3 were the only ones at the time sort of bringing a Rust framework for developing a layer one blockchain. And I think that's what got me interested initially. And obviously, there's the rest of the buzzwords. There's sort of WASM and light clients, as we've touched on before, etc. But Yeah, like joining Polkadot specifically, I think for me it would have been the opportunity to work with Rust full time, but staying sort of the crypto space.
Thank you for the question, young savior. We've got Kryptonic 1 up next.
Hello guys, thank you for me to come over here. Actually, I have a question about like security is a very good. You choose already Polkadot for security purposes. That is very good for that. I can see like some bridging fees you have if somebody want to exchange want to mint IBTC. They have to put like one BTC and they're gonna get IBTC, and some bridging fees is there like 0.0015 BTC, like 31 dollar according to today price. And the second thing, we have transaction fees 0.20 interchange. That is okay. Security deposit, some security deposit we have like 1706 inter token, INTR token. So my question is this is security deposit is gonna get back by the system later on, or you this gonna work as a fees, is not going to get back to the customer? That's my question actually.
Yeah, great question. So the security deposit is what we refer to as grief and collateral, and that's basically assets locked by the user in order to request the minting of IBTC. The user does get that back fully. It is simply used, well, that's to say, if the user requests issuance of IBTC but fails to actually send any BTC to the vault, they will be penalized. So that security deposit will be taken away. But in the event that they do complete that request, so they ask the vault to hold some of their collateral in order to be able to mint IBTC, and they fail to send that IBTC to that vault, then the vault is obviously in the period where it could have minted additional IBTC, you've locked some of its collateral, so it has lost out. So that security deposit is taken away and given to the vault. And then, as you mentioned, there's also transaction fees in order to kind of send transactions on the parachain side, and there is an allowance also for fees on the Bitcoin side.
All right, thank you very much. I got the answer. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that. So we've got up next, I believe, Dave.
Okay, can you hear me?
You can
Can
hear
you hear me?
Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. So, I've been listening right from the beginning, and I got it confused at the point. So, I'm wondering, these votes, is there like a possibility where we get to join, like, I mean, can we create our own and then have people join in and then we get rewards from it? Because I am trying to get the idea behind it, and also can we like how would I say this now, like on stake or take liquidity out of it at any time?
Hey, so sorry, would you mind repeating the first question?
Yeah, the first question was about the votes. Yeah, that can we like create our own votes and then earn from people joining our own votes? Like, I don't know if you get my question.
Yeah, so I think I got what the question is. So is the question, can I make my own vault client, or do you want to start your running your own vault? So in both cases, yeah, both are possible. We have documentation on running our own vault. We have a client side software that does the speaking between Bitcoin and the parachain. And that's all open source in our documentation, so you can look at that to get started. And if there's anything missing in the guides, like please reach out on Discord, and we're always happy to help. and guide you in sort of running your own vault. The other thing to touch on is yes, like the protocol is completely open source, so everything that the chain requires from a Vault client, we've specified. We've got a specification where we list all the behaviors. So you can also create your own Vault client using sort of any technology that's capable of speaking with the Bitcoin network and the Polkadot parachain networks, and that's definitely doable as well. Does that answer your question or not?
Yeah. And I'm going to join your Discord community if I have further questions.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. Chisholm Dixon, would you like to go ahead with the next question, please?
Can you guys hear me? It's actually noisy where I am, but can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. So my question is based on actually see on top of Interlay, like the pin post now that is like there's like you're actually saying that is there going to be like what token pairs do you actually want to be on, like Core Finance and Boom Swap? So my question is definitely you'd expect, since these are dexes, you expect that those liquidity pools would actually run out, or so they'll actually be imbalanced. But definitely you actually need lenders, or you actually need people to actually deposit IBC. You actually your wrapped BTC token, which is IBTC. You actually need people to actually lend part of those um tokens to actually balance those pools. So my question is like, what incentives or what are going to be the benefits for those that you actually want to balance those pools? Is there going to be like, okay, fine, APRs, like, okay, fine, this is what happens when you stake, or this is what happens when you lend your IBTC to actually balance those pools? So I guess that's my question.
And that would be perfect. We have these discussion posts right on Open Square where we're trying to poll the community and sort of what incentives we bring and to. And this is what Liv mentioned before, and I believe the link has been shared above. So if you could get involved in those, that would be awesome to hear your opinion there.
Okay, no problems. I'll actually try my best to actually check it out. So if I'm permitted to actually ask a second one, I don't know. Can I actually go for a second one, Megan?
Go ahead.
Okay, now the IBTC, which is the wrapped BTC token, can it be used as collateral to actually collect loans? Let's say like stable coins, like let's say USDT or something like USDC or something, like, can it be used as collateral?
Yes, it can, and indeed that is, I believe, one of our integration plans going forward. Finding ways to use IBC as collateral for stablecoins.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Thanks so much, Megan. Thanks so much, Dustin. Thanks so much, Greg.
Thank you, Chisholm. So we've got King Levitt up next. Would you like to go ahead, please?
Yo, Megan, how you doing? Good evening. Dustin, good evening. How you doing?
Hey,
Good,
Man,
thanks.
thank you very much.
good.
All right, so my question is basically simple. I believe so much in collaborations, and I believe when you are collaborated with maybe a top company, you do better. I just want to know which collaboration are presently available to help you succeed in this mission you are on, because this is the first time I'm seeing this project online. This is the first time, and I would like to grow interest in it. Please, could you share with us?
Yeah,
Did you get my question?
we have Discord where I think we do most of the communication. So if you have questions there about sort of how you can get involved and what is required, like depending on your skill set, like please like get involved there in the Discord. On the technical side, we all of our code is open source, so we use GitHub primarily, and we have issues which should be tagged with whether they're beginner friendly or not. So that's also another good place to start if you're looking on the technical side of things. And I believe security reporting side. So if you have any interest in sort of looking at the security of our system, we appreciate input there. And then yeah, otherwise just kind of reach out on Discord and we'll see what where maybe you can fit in.
No, you didn't get my point. I was like, what top partnerships or collaboration are you having currently? That's what I'm asking. I know of all these ones. I read it on the website already.
Yeah, so we have when you say collaboration, do you mean sort of the integrations with pools, or are you referring to something else?
Yeah, such.
Yeah, so as Liv mentioned, we have all of our proposals on the OpenSquare Subsquare governance platform, so you can see sort of the ongoing sort of channel setups and pool bootstrapping proposals there. We also just created a discussion post linked above, which is sort of asking the community where we should go next or what partnerships we should bring. So if you do have an opinion on that, you can get involved in that discussion. That's linked above.
Oh, buddy, thank you very, very much. Thank you very, very much. I sure will do that now. Thank you very much.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you, Laveet. Looks like we got Lucky Chan up next.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, sir. Do you have a white paper? If yes, please share with us. And secondly, are you working on your project to make its security more secure and reliable?
Yep, so we have initially some of the research already published in sort of top tier academic articles. We've also got a token white paper that's on GitHub, I believe, under Interlay white papers. So you can take a look at those for sort of the token distribution for Kintsugi and Interlay. We have documentation and we have a more formal specification of the protocol at specs.interlay.io, and that's also worth checking out. We have I think had three and a half audits. So we've had NCC, informal systems, and I believe is it QuantStamp is the most recent firm to Quarks Lab, the most recent firm to review the implementation and protocol. And we also had a brief kind of automated scanning from SR Labs, who are currently working with Parity quite heavily on a lot of their code, and that also clears their scans. And then beyond that, as I mentioned, we've established a bug bounty security reporting program, and that's on Immunify. So that's currently active now. We've already paid out a few bug bounties from that. I had a really interesting find regarding the fraud proofs and the theft reporting, as I mentioned earlier, and we're continually establishing new reports there. And yeah, if you want to get involved, please do. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And thank you so much for your question. And thank you, Interlay, for joining us today for this AMA, and everyone for your great questions. I think you've really, like I said, touched on some of those magic words when it comes to trust and security when it comes to bridging, like light clients and collateral, decentralized, and non-custodial. So it sounds like a really great project, and then I encourage everyone listening to look into Interlay.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was super great to kind of share what we've been up to and what we will be working on going forward. And I look forward to finding future ways for us to collaborate with you. And thanks to everyone for listening. to me ramble for a long time, but yes, thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Liv. Thank you, Greg. Be sure to follow Interlay. Be sure to follow Greg. Be sure to follow Kintsugi's in the crowd too. So check out their Canary project as well. Be sure to join their pools, and we'd love to hear your votes on that as well. So be sure to join Interlay on some new pools. So be interesting to see where that goes. And yeah, stay tuned more from Interlay, and Appreciate everyone here, and we'll see you guys on the next week.
Thanks so
For
much.
sure. We're going to be announcing some winners for the promo contest and also for best questions. We will just send those out in a tweet sometime after the show. And do stay tuned for more about our next guest. We'll be posting details if we on Monday for our AMA team.
For
Anyway,
sure.
take care, everyone. Hope you